This Spotlight is brought to you by presenting sponsor, Busey Bank. Welcome to Spotlight. I'm your host, Jane Wernette. Today I'm joined by 3 local nonprofits, Cantigny, Loaves and Fishes Community Services, and the DuPage Children's Museum. You're watching Spotlight, and joining me now from the First Division Museum at Cantigny are Jessica Wazak and Phil Roberts. It's so nice to have you both here. And Jessica, I'm going to start out with you. Tell us a little bit about Cantigny and the First Division Museum.
So we just celebrated our 65th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Now, thank you. The museum has been around for as long, and we tell the U.S. Army story through the lens of the First Division. So we are passionately telling the story from as early as World War I through the modern era. And we are able to express the 1st Infantry Division of the U.S. Army's role, as well as multiple ancillary roles within our museum.
I think that's nice, right? It sort of gives a local lens to a larger, bigger historical, course of events, right?
It certainly does,
yes.
Yeah.
Now, Phil, talk a little bit about where the 1st Division was on D-Day.
Well, on D-Day, the 1st Division, their nickname is the Big Red One, was extremely involved. They landed at Omaha Beach. That was one of the 5 beaches designated by the Allies, and they met the toughest resistance, enemy resistance, and suffered a lot of casualties as a result. Almost 2,000 in that single day. And they have a motto that I think aptly applies to that particular point in history. No mission too difficult, no sacrifice too great, duty first.
Oh, love that. Love that. That's really wonderful. That's really wonderful. You have opened, or you're getting ready to open, a really pretty spectacular exhibit at the museum to honor the Big Red One. I love that. Talk a little bit about what makes it unique.
Nothing But Victory is an exhibit that is virtually all outdoor. It is a sculptural experience for individuals to put themselves in a location, that power of place. I had the opportunity to actually go to Normandy, and the power of place is so important, and so many people may not have that opportunity. So our exhibit is a physical space that spans over 300 yards, which is approximately the distance that our soldiers moved from water up across the beach on June 6th. So the sculptures and the stories that are there are very representative of the experience, the strength, and hope that they moved through. And we go beyond that to tell a little further story through the hedgerows of Normandy and the struggles that the division faced during that time.
I think that's so interesting, right? Because oftentimes we see videos or we see photographs, which are also very powerful in terms of understanding history, but that concept of the physicality of space and how 300 yards, that's a long way, right? So that's very interesting. When does it open?
We are opening that on June 6th.
On June 6th.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes a lot of sense, right? Phil, talk a little bit, because you have this outdoor exhibit, but you also have things going on inside the museum. So say a little more about that.
Sure. Well, I think it's something very interesting. There are, as we know, we have many famous personalities and presidents that have been engaged in certain aspects of World War II. But we're focusing specifically on the Operation Overlord, D-Day. And we're going to highlight 7 individuals that you may not know about their contributions and their sacrifices on the beaches of Normandy and on into France during Operation Overlord. And so we're going to bring those characters to life by telling their history, what they did during the war, and also what they accomplished after being involved in combat.
Well, and I think it's so interesting, really, because when you start to think about the generational, we're really getting to a time when that generation that went through that experience and sacrificed on our behalf is unfortunately moving on. And so to let the next generation really understand what that looked like, I'm sure very important. And so that kind of leads me to my question to you, Jessica. You know, why D-Day? Why is that important for the 1st Division Museum?
So this is the anniversary of D-Day, the 80th anniversary. And the division was on Omaha Beach, and they also call that the bloodiest beach that soldiers had to pass through German weapons. So we want to remember not just the 1st Division, but all of the individuals who participated in Operation Overlord and the D-Day experience. This is possibly the last year that we will see D-Day veterans able to remember the service and sacrifice of their fellow soldiers and their own experience.
Yeah, it's sort of hard to imagine it's been 80 years, right? Do you often find yourself with a lot of veterans coming out? I mean, I would assume for your opening, they're a part of that plan?
Yes, we do have veterans who are from the division, from the community that will visit us, generations of families and their veteran service that they enjoy being able to talk about within the family unit and friends. And so our museum gives them the space, and our exhibits really open it up for conversation that may or may not happen otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's one of the things we know about soldiers is they typically are not sharing of their service, right? They're very private, but it's important information and it's important stories for those of us who are lucky enough to, you know, come behind to know about, right? So. One question just sparks as you're opening the exhibit. Will this be an ongoing, or will this be sort of more of a temporary exhibit as part of this particular point in time?
Sure, guests can come and see our exhibit all summer long.
Okay.
The outdoor exhibit and the indoor exhibit will be available. It is a temporary exhibit, so we'd love to have people come and visit us all summer.
Okay, awesome. Phil, how can we get more information?
Well, you can reach us on our website and follow us on Facebook.
Okay, wonderful. So we know where to find out the information, but it makes me think about, is there a cost for going into the exhibit?
The cost is free with paid parking.
Okay.
And the parking gets you in to see a lot of different things. We have activities going on throughout the summer. The website's a great place to check that out.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, because you've got this great exhibit, but you have incredible grounds out there as well.
Right.
Lovely place to come take a walk, and then you've also got the golf. So it's full service at Cantigny. Listen, thank you so much for coming by. We so appreciate it. We're so excited to have this incredible honor to those that served on D-Day, and we look forward to that exhibit opening up on June 6th. So thanks for coming by. And if you would like to learn more about the 1st Division Museum at Cantigny, please go and visit their website. We're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned. We're coming right back with more Spotlight.
This is the Run My Own Business dream. This is the colleges paid for dream. This is the retire early dream. This is Busey, where your dreams and possibilities become moments through trusted guidance and expertise, through lifelong relationships. Because we're here to help you achieve the life you've always envisioned.
If you're just tuning in, you're watching Spotlight. I'm your host, Jane Wernette, and joining me now from Loaves and Fishes Community Services are Mike Havala and Nancy Wearsome.
Well, thank you, Jane, so much for having us here today.
Always good to have you both with us. And so, Mike, let's just start right out with you. What's going on at Loaves and Fishes?
Right. So I'd say the headline today is that we are serving more people than ever before. We are serving well over 9,000 people a week. In fact, last week was over 10,000 people that we're serving. And so if you look at where we were about 2.5 years ago, in the beginning of 2022, we were serving a little over 3,000 people a week. So our numbers have tripled in a little over 2 years.
That's incredible.
It's just absolutely amazing. And a lot of people ask, well, why? There's nothing sudden that happened in the last 2 or 3 years. Why is that? Why has the numbers gone up so much? And it's really a matter, the dynamics really are cost of living. And if you look at the cost of living, what's happened over the last couple of years, it's gone up a lot faster than wages. And so what's happened is a family that maybe was making ends meet 2 years ago, today they can't make ends meet, and so they need help. So it's been a month in, month out erosion, if you will, of people's financial situation, and at some point they get to a tipping point where they need to ask for our help.
Yeah, and that's challenging too, right? And I think a lot of times people, it's working people. It's not that people aren't working, it's that the working wage isn't keeping up.
We always say it could be any one of us at any time.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, it's very scary, you know. And,
exactly.
And also hard to ask for that help, right? You have a lot of proud people that are having to walk through your doors.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why when we serve people, we want to make sure we serve them with dignity, because it's so important, because people that are asking for help and coming for help, they don't want to be.
Yeah, yeah, they don't want to be there.
Right.
No,
right.
But thank goodness you are there. Yes. Nancy, I mean, it's hard to believe this really, but it's a 40-year anniversary for Loaves and Fishes this year. That's a big milestone. You have come so far since your beginning to where you are today. How are you celebrating? How are you honoring that 4 decades?
Well, thank you, Jane, for mentioning our big anniversary. Yes, 40 years. First of all, we just have to say thank you to this incredible community, because it definitely wouldn't have happened without so many people stepping up. As our numbers rose over the years and the needs increased, the community was right there along with us. So one of the things we're doing that is really fun is we're asking people to share their memories.
Oh.
Maybe they were a client.
Okay.
Maybe they were a volunteer. Maybe they worked at Loaves and Fishes. We'd love to hear from everyone about their experiences over the past 40 years. The other thing we're doing that's fun, we're going to have a time capsule.
Okay.
And yes, we put our eclipse glasses in it.
Love that. Love that.
We will have a community open house in November, where we just want to invite the whole community to say thank you. And then throughout the year, we've got a lot of flashback photos, social media posts. We will have kind of a mini museum display of our history that we will have at our gala in September, Night to End Hunger. Then we will also have it at our open house.
Okay, so it'll be like a physical, so you'll be able to see.
It will be.
Which I think, you know, is so remarkable. I mean, the growth that you have experienced just from moving locations and expansion that way to the pantry model. I mean, incredible amounts of innovation and expansion to meet the need. I mean, you haven't done it for the sake of it. You've done it because the needs have been there, right?
Correct.
Right.
But we didn't do it by ourselves. No one has. And we're so honored to be able to build on the foundation that all those that came before us laid so beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely. You're stewards of the past and innovators for the future. Mike, we've talked about this together. The other thing that I think is always so remarkable with Loaves and Fishes, you're very strategic. You're very thoughtful in how you approach your business. And as part of that, you came up with this hub and spoke model a couple of years ago. So explain what that is, if you would, and kind of how that's working for you today.
Sure, no, absolutely. So about 2.5 years ago, we opened up our new food distribution hub facility, and that's about 1.5 miles away from our food pantry in Naperville. So the hub is in Aurora. And with our hub, we're able to do so much more, not only just in different locations, but also in different ways of serving people. So now that we have our food hub, we're able to serve people, you know, in 4 counties, and we have satellite locations in Bolingbrook and Aurora and Plainfield, in addition to our main pantry in Naperville. But what I think is even more interesting in some sense is that we have multiple ways that we can serve people. So now you can get food at Loaves and Fishes in 3 ways. You can come shop at our grocery market, I'll say sort of the old-fashioned way of getting your groceries, but you can also order online. So clients can, through their phone, order their groceries online and then just come simply pick it up at our food distribution hub. And we started our online ordering system about 2 years ago, which we created from scratch. And we just celebrated our 10,000th order fulfillment here just recently.
And maybe that speaks to, I would imagine that speaks to not just the convenience of on the phone, but that also, maybe I feel a little better just driving through and picking up my groceries. Maybe I don't want to come in, right? So you're honoring different ways that people feel comfortable engaging with you.
No, absolutely. And some people also have time issues. They may have physical issues. That shopping.
They got kids in the back and they are not easy to get through a pantry.
Absolutely. So, and then the third way they can pick up food is by our pre-packed pickup that is just simply ready to go food, where if they don't have time to shop in the market or they can't order online or not ordering online, they can just come get food and they'll get a wide array of everything from fresh produce to milk and eggs to dry goods and so forth. So they'll get a lot of food that way too. So the food distribution hub has really been a game changer for us. And we could never come close to serving the number of people we're serving today if we had stayed with our old model of sort of a monolithic building where everything happens all in one place.
That makes sense.
And one thing about the online ordering that we are so happy about is we did seek funding to have that platform developed, but we've made it available to any other food pantry. So they can brand it with their own logo and colors. And we would like to be part of a larger effort to overcome food insufficiency. So that allows us to be able to, that replicates throughout. And we have a couple of pantries using it.
That makes my heart sing, because I think it's so important. We're not competing, in the not-for-profit. We're trying to solve a problem, right? And whether the problem is food insecurity or homeless, we're all trying to solve it. So I love that you're doing that. That's fantastic. I also want to just really quickly, because this is something that I think you guys really innovated on as well, is about the nutritional value. Just because you may be food insecure, putting the right food. Talk a little bit about that for just a quick moment, because that's important.
Sure. Well, we're very, very focused on healthy food. If you have a low income, the chances are you are only capable of buying very cheap, non-nutritious food. A poor diet leads to medical issues, which leads to additional economic challenges, which leads you back to buying less nutritious foods. So our goal is to break that cycle. So we don't even serve soda, candy, or energy drinks. And we're really, really focused on healthy proteins, grains, milk, eggs, and really want to stop that cycle of a poor diet.
We so appreciate the work that you're doing. We know how critical it is. We wish the need were not triple what it was a couple of years ago. But in the meantime, we wish you a very glorious 40th anniversary, and we know that it'll continue on. So thank you for coming back.
And thank you, Jane, for having us. It's always a pleasure to be at NCTV.
Well, we love having you guys too, so thank you.
Good. Thanks.
And to find out more about Loaves and Fishes Community Services, please go and visit their website. We're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned. We're coming right back.
This is Busey, where your dreams become moments. With trusted guidance, we'll help you achieve the life you've always envisioned.
This Spotlight is brought to you by presenting sponsor, Busey Bank.
Welcome back to Spotlight. And joining me now from the DuPage Children's Museum are Brett Nicholas and Kimberly Stahl. It's so nice to have you both here. I always love talking about the museum. So, Kim, you and I are new to each other, so I'm going to start with you. The museum has 2 new interactive exhibits that you've launched. I want to hear all about what inspired you, how you thought about them, and what they are.
So inspiration for our exhibits comes from all kinds of places, and we have a very diverse team that comes from many, many different fields that really contribute to the ideas for the exhibits. And then we also go out to our audience and really pay attention to what's going on in research and early learning to see what children need at the moment, because that's always changing. And so our current exhibit, the Questionnaires Read, Question, Think, Play, really came out of a conversation between several people who absolutely loved local author Andrea Beatty and her books. And at the time, there were 3 characters that were super tied to our mission. So one was about engineering, one was about architecture, one was about science, but it was more than that. The characters themselves display all of those things we want children to learn: passion, perseverance, the ability to fail and be okay with it, and understanding that that's just a part of the play. And so that exhibit has opened up as a permanent space on our 2nd floor. You get to come in and be one of the characters from the book, experience where they live and play, do a lot of different types of play while you're there. And then the other exhibit is our Wonder Room. And this was something that we installed in 2015, and we felt like it had not lived up to its name. And we really wanted to rethink the space.
I love that. I love that.
And so we went out. One of the things is our museum, of course, it's very busy. Lots of people come. And when there are a lot of people in the museum, it gets very loud. And we want our exhibits and our museum to be accessible to all people. And if we're going to do that, then we really need to think about what type of experiences people need. And they need different types of experiences. So we went out to families who have children with autism or sensory needs, and we talked through with them what kind of experiences they were having in the museum, how we could improve that. And one of the things we should have known right off the bat was that there are some children who need high sensory experiences and some children that need low sensory experiences, and those children can be in the same family. And how do you do that, right?
Yes.
And so we really thought through how to remake this space in a way that it would really help low sensory, because that helps everybody, not just people who know they have sensory needs, but everybody needs that. And so we started there, and we decided to theme it through nature, because we really thought about how over the last few years, everyone has really realized how important the natural world is to us and how important it is to get children out in the natural world. So we wanted to create an opportunity for them to experience that and also encourage them to actually go spend time outside too. And so that inspiration comes from everywhere. And the process will be different for every exhibit, but we always look to our audience for that input and that encouragement and making sure that we're meeting their needs. And every time we do an exhibit, after we install it, we go back and we do a lot of observations and watching and talking with people to make sure that it's doing what we wanted it to do, that it's doing what our audience needs. And if it's not, then we do what we can to fix that. And everything we do is custom. It's not like there's a children's museum store that we just go buy things, you know what I mean? Like everything we do is developed with our location and our audience in mind.
Well, I think that's really what people want, right? I mean, that's the important part. And that kind of gets a little bit to a question to you, Brett, because we talk about STEM learning all the time. You know, it's the next big acronym, right? Or that or STEAM. Why is it so important to have that learning experience at home, at school, in the community? And why do we need to keep it playful?
STEM learning, science learning at its core is really about understanding the world that we live in, right? That's what kids do all the time, right? You're born and you're like, what is going on out here? Right? What's this place? And then the rest of your life, you're just trying to figure out what this crazy world is about. And
It's true.
It's true, right? And so sometimes people think about science, technology, engineering, and math at the level that they had at high school or college. But it is still absolutely appropriate for kids to practice those skills from a young age, because at its core, it's understanding the world around them, right?
Okay.
And so that you don't have to wait until you have a 7th grade science teacher to do science. You don't have to wait until high school to engage in engineering. You're building a tower out of blocks? Well, guess what? You're learning how to build something. It's going to fall down, and you're going to learn how to make it taller next time. At its core, that's engineering, right? Understanding what happens to, observing what a caterpillar is doing as it turns into a chrysalis and into a butterfly. That's science. You can do that as a 4-year-old, right? You might not be taking sophisticated measurements of I don't know, a caterpillar's heartbeat. I don't even know if caterpillars have heartbeats. But you can make the observations that set up the skills that practice and see if maybe, hey, science and engineering and math and technology are something I like, and hopefully those by having this something that you experience not only in school, but also at the museum and also the supports that we provide at home, maybe will help kids develop an affinity for STEM that will then carry them through those maybe more difficult organic chemistry classes when they're a sophomore in college.
Sure, they're getting a little walk. They're doing the zero depth pool as they kind of walk into that, right?
I love that. Yeah. Zero depth STEM.
Yes, kind of walking into it.
You don't have that trademarked, do you? Can I use that? I might use that. I'll credit you.
We'll discuss after.
Okay.
Can talk a little bit about what do children, what do they do when they're in these immersive, playful experiences? Why is that good?
Well, I think about, I know. I think about so much of what happens during play that it really is children just, like you said, figuring out the world, right?
Yeah.
And so think about all of the, what we call the 21st century skills now, right? Creativity, collaboration, perseverance, trial and error. All of those things are happening during play. And there's just, when you look at, especially the approach that DuPage Children's Museum takes to play, it's very open-ended. It's full of loose parts that could be anything. And so
kids get to make the choices.
That's right.
Kid-centered.
So it's confidence building.
Yeah.
So they learn they have agency in the world, that they can play with something and make something and be something. And then the next time they do it again, and they learn a little bit more and a little bit more. And it lays all of those foundations for, we say, learning how to learn, right? Yeah. That's really what they're doing, is learning how to learn.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're having fun, which means they'll keep at it.
Right.
That's right. That's the enthusiasm piece, the thing that gets them coming back. Yeah.
So, obviously you don't do this in a vacuum. You're very intentional and very purposeful and collaborative at the museum, but you're also creating authentic partnerships with others. So, Brett, talk a little bit about how you sort of respond to community needs and then create some partnerships to help you deliver on that. Yeah,
this has been a real focus of our work in outreach, or the work that we do outside of the museum since the pandemic, because we knew that there were kids that had new sets of needs. There were schools that were trying to teach things in new ways, and we didn't have the answers, but we needed to talk to our partners and find out what were the issues that they were having so that we could work together to try to make those answers collaboratively. Okay. And so we've really focused on what we call co-creation of our outreach programs, which is to say, instead of creating something in a vacuum and then delivering it and saying, we've made this, isn't it beautiful? And it may very well be beautiful. It is beautiful if we've made it. But,
of course, but maybe doesn't meet the needs.
But it might not meet the needs. And so we have to start first with that conversation about, what are your needs? What are the barriers that you're facing? And so if we want to really be a responsive museum, we have to have those conversations first and then work collaboratively to build something that'll work for both us, but also our audience. Because guess what? There's a lot of overlap. Yeah. If we're talking about kids having joyful learning experiences, if we're talking about social emotional learning, those are things that all adults really should be trying to advocate for the kids that are in their lives. And so a museum can work with a school, with a community center, with families to figure out how we can work together. We have overlapping goals. Let's make overlapping solutions to the problems that our kids are facing today.
That's great. Thank you. I wish you all the best for this year. It's always fun, always changing when you come to the museum, right?
Yep. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And for more information about the DuPage Children's Museum, please go and visit their website. I'd like to thank all of my guests for joining us today on Spotlight, and our friends at Busey Bank for their generous sponsorship of today's show. To learn more about the organizations featured on this episode, please go and visit our website at nctv17.org. And to stay informed about what's happening in our community, sign up to receive our daily news update and like and follow us on social media. For Spotlight, I'm Jane Wernette. Thank you for watching.
This Spotlight is brought to you by presenting sponsor, Busey Bank.